Welcome back to Movie Moshow. Today we are going to review the science fiction horror film, The Void. If you like our content, don't forget to like and subscribe. We post multiple times daily. Spoilers ahead. Two individuals flee outside of a rural home as two armed men chase them in the opening scene of the movie. While the other flees desperately into the darkness, one of the fleeing gets shot and wounded. The two men, one older than the other and carrying gasoline canisters, approach the injured woman. As they get in their car to presumably chase their other victim, one of the men puts a lit cigarette on the woman after she has been soaked, killing her instantly. A figure in the distance is seeing the gruesome scene while completely covered in a white robe, with the exception of the black triangle in the middle of the face mask. Policeman Daniel Carter is seated in his squad car on a rural road in another location. Daniel observes a person climbing out of the tree line on their hands and knees after checking in with dispatch. When Daniel approaches, he assumes it's a drunken adolescent, but as soon as he notices the man is delirious and covered in blood, he quickly whisks him away in the backseat of his car. Daniel asks the dispatcher which hospital is the closest to where he is right now. The dispatcher informs him that because they are in the process of closing down after a fire completely destroyed a portion of the building, the nearest one might not be equipped to handle the situation. Uncertain of the extent of the man's injuries and with the next nearest hospital still 20 minutes away, Daniel unwillingly moves toward his only choice. The nurse at the front desk contacts Dr. Richard Powell and another nurse, Beverly, for assistance when Daniel brings the man through the front door. Dr. Powell and Beverly take the man away to be checked. During the minute of quiet, Daniel greets teenager Maggie and her grandfather Ben, who had come in that evening to get an update on Maggie's advanced pregnancy. The nurse at the front desk, who is later revealed to be Allison, Daniel's estranged wife, brings Daniel a cup of coffee as he goes to clean the junkie's blood off his uniform after the doctor notices heroin needle marks on the patient's arms. Dr. Powell approaches Daniel after Allison leaves and encourages him to be gentle with Allison since he knows all too well what it's like to lose a kid. Nursing student Kim is assigned to a hospital that is understaffed and in the process of moving out, and she sits in patient Cliff's room in another area of the hospital, boring him with her boredom and her frustration. Kim exits the room after Cliff informs her he's going to bed. Daniel notices Beverly standing over Cliff shortly after as he walks through the hospital's hallways, and something doesn't seem right. As he gets closer, he notices that Beverly has inserted a pair of scissors through the boy's eye and is slowly pulling them out. Beverly slowly turns around and faces Daniel as he pulls his sidearm, revealing that she has almost completely removed her face. As Daniel implores Beverly to put down the scissors, she starts to further remove the skin and explains to him that this isn't her true face. Beverly moves closer to him, and Daniel shoots and kills her. Unable to handle his emotions, Daniel stumbles into the closest bathroom, passes out, and Allison, Kim, and Dr. Powell rush to investigate. In his dreams, Daniel sees a black triangular mass, a sinister-looking nebula in space, and a gloomy, barren terrain with swirling clouds above. Allison and Dr. Powell beg Daniel to take it easy, but when he awakens, Daniel is adamant on reporting the incident. They also let him know that a state trooper had arrived at the hospital while he was unconscious. Daniel locates Mitchell, the trooper, and inquires as to his speedy arrival. Mitchell tells him that he is there for the man that Daniel had brought in earlier that night and that he is there because he is looking into a mass murder that occurred at a house not far away. Mitchell then chastises Daniel for the problem he can't seem to control and even taunts Daniel by mentioning how outstanding of a police officer his father was and suggesting that he would have handled things better. Mitchell is aware of what occurred with Beverly. Daniel, who is still adamant about reporting the event with Beverly to dispatch, leaves the hospital for his car, which is waiting for him right outside. Daniel notices a figure wearing all white with the exception of a black triangle covering the face while he is unable to contact anyone. A loud foghorn can be heard in the distance as he attempts to approach and converse with the figure, and the hospital's lights begin to flicker. The unidentified attacker manages to stab Daniel in the chest before being thrown off. While Allison, Kim, and Dr. Powell attend to his bleeding wound, Daniel runs back into the hospital and once more passes out while experiencing identical images to those he had earlier. Soon after Daniel wakes up, Mitchell and Daniel race to the junkie's room in response to a scream. The two policemen manage to save the addict and lock the monstrous, twisted, and tentacled Beverly inside before it can harm the addict. The group panics after being startled by the creature and realizing that Daniel's attacker has encircled the hospital with people who look like him. The two men from the beginning of the movie suddenly barge into the hospital and demand that the junkie be turned up to them while brandishing weapons. The addict grabs Maggie and places a blade to her throat while Daniel and Mitchell attempt to defuse the situation. As the tension builds, Dr. Powell gently approaches the addict and begs him to let go of Maggie. However, as he attempts to do so, he is fatally stabbed in the neck and collapses to the ground. Mitchell is taken away by the Beverly Thing when it unexpectedly appears via a different doorway. Ben knocks the addict out by taking advantage of the uncertainty to do so and saves Maggie. Turning a corner as he pursues the monster with a fire axe, Daniel discovers it grasping Mitchell, who is barely alive, and driving its tentacles into his eye sockets and down his neck. The beast is attacked by the two weird men as soon as they appear, killing it and taking Mitchell's head off in the process. The group takes Mitchell's body, straps it to a gurney, and then rolls it outside into the parking lot before setting it on fire. They are unsure of what may occur at this point. Daniel is able to form an uncomfortable alliance with the two strange guys, the older man named Vincent and the younger Simon, one of whom, Simon, we learn cannot talk due to an injury, while the trio tries to make sense of what is happening. As soon as Maggie starts to feel discomfort, Allison insists on heading to the medication storage room to fetch supplies to aid the teen out of fear for her life and the life of her unborn child. Vincent, Simon, and Daniel come up with a plan to get Daniel's shotgun and ammunition from his squad car, and Daniel instructs Allison to wait until he gets back before exploring the hospital's interior. When Daniel and the other two leave the building, they discover that the automobile has been moved further from the door but that no sign of the enigmatic people can be seen. They sprint to the car, where Daniel fumbles to unlock the holster for his shotgun while Simon collects ammunition and flares from the trunk while Vincent keeps watch. Daniel turns on his lights to illuminate the tree line where many of these figures wait silently holding blades when Vincent spots a person in the distance. Simon is suddenly attacked from behind by one, but Daniel pulls out his shotgun, kills the attacker, and the three of them go back to the hospital. When they come back, they discover Allison had decided not to wait and had gone to the pharmaceutical storage room despite Daniel's request that she not go by alone. A person who appears to be Dr. Powell is standing behind Allison as she grabs her necessities. Daniel and the two guys head to the storage room to look for Allison when they arrive back at the door and discover that Dr. Powell's body has vanished. The three stumble onto Dr. Powell's office while searching for her and discovering nothing but the bag in which she was gathering what she needed. They then go inside to look around. Dr. Powell calls Daniel and taunts him before hanging up as Vincent goes through a tin box packed with Polaroids of naked women, the enigmatic figures, and dead bodies. Daniel, who is desperate for information, lets Vincent and Simon question the addict while threatening to crush his fingers with a hammer if he refuses to explain what's going on. The drug addict admits that he was drawn to the house with the promise of crystal meth and joined other drug users there, despite his claim that he knows nothing about what appears to be a cult. The situation quickly deteriorated as the cult members, including Dr. Powell, observed the addicts engage in sexual activity before sacrificing them in weird rites and conducting tests on both living and dead subjects. The only reason the junkie is still alive is because Vincent and Simon arrived that night with pistols drawn and decimated everyone, cult members included. Then it is revealed that father and son Vincent and Simon went to the house to exact revenge on the people who had killed their family. Daniel, who is desperate to find Allison, persuades Vincent and Simon to accompany him into the hospital's burned-out area because he thinks that's where Dr. Powell has taken her. Despite her objections, he abandons Kim with Ben and Maggie and offers Ben a rifle to help defend them. Thank you for watching and don't forget to like and subscribe.